Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Live. We have a half page, roughly half page, 8.5 by 5 inch card base here, folded. This is the big one. Starry holographic printable vinyl sticker paper here. And I've already applied it with the white pigment ink in here, just because that's a really boring, you know, process to do on here. So, and it's big, so I'm trying to save people the suffering from applying that. If you want to know how I've done this in the background right here, you can see my previous video posted last night. So we're doing a version of this one. And I just wanted to do it bigger here in a reflection card format like that. I thought it'd be kind of cool if this girl was on her swing, kind of swinging next to like a pond or something like that, instead of going to the holographic like this one, like here during the daytime. It's going to be fairly light up here, but we have the starry night like this, so I thought that can add a little bit of whimsy into the scenario here. And I don't have everything completely designed in my head, but, you know, we have the gist of it here. Hello, Julia, how are you? Good to see you. All right, so let's see. I'm going to do the scene first, and then we'll stamp out our foreground imagery down here afterwards, because it's easier to work the foreground imagery in here around the things that are reflecting down here than me to stamp down here and try to put this up here and figure out, you know, where to stamp things up here in the scene, okay? So what I mean by that is, if I have this girl in the swing here, I want her to be kind of, you know, reasonably, whatever, reasonably visual and seen down here in this lower portion, rather than having like some kind of foreground here and then she's obscured in this reflection portion. The thing about these reflection cards, it's the reflection down here of the objects above, the main objects above, that make things you know, a little bit more dynamic, so you want them to be able to be seen. Okay, so that being said, we'll do this first. Okay, so I'm going to stamp out. It's going to be roughly the same kind of composition right here. I just wanted to add in that, that reflective element. I really liked that scene, that card from yesterday, so I thought, well, let's see if we can build on to that, that concept here. Okay, so dye-based inks, water-based media on top of the printable vinyl sticker paper, okay? Now, someone posted online, hey, you can get that, you know, you can get the holographic vinyl on Amazon or check out, you know, different sites, which is great, you know, because they're telling people where they can get this stuff. But I said, hey, you know, you have to add in the printable vinyl, because I know people that have bought holographic vinyl sticker paper thinking, okay, that's it, right? But it's not. You can do things on there, but it's not going to grab your inks, water-based inks, like the printable type does. The printable has an extra emulsion layer over the surface, which allows for your inkjet printer ink to transfer onto it and to dry, okay? So nothing like a VersaFine Clair up here. That's something like, that's an oil-based pigment ink, okay? This is designed for water-based. I try to emphasize that because it's not, you know, there's other things too called holographic. Is it called vinyl? I think it's vinyl cold laminate holographic sticker paper too. And it's basically, if you stamp something out or doing, you know, you don't have to stamp it out, but if you do some kind of thing on a piece of paper, whatever applications you want. And then if you want kind of these holographic types of like an overlay, you can put it right over the top and then, you know, smooth it down. It's like sticker paper. It's clear. Which is cool too. I mean, but it's a different type of effect than, you know, applying these inks on there. So just know that. Hello, Kathy, how are you? I started a paper wish list. These are pretty fun. And they're relatively inexpensive, the holographic printable sticker papers. There's a lot of different, I'm guessing they're coming out of one factory somewhere. It's always in China these days, right? There's a lot of different brands selling it. And there's not like a dozen different patterns. I would say there's like 6. And there's the kind of the more kind of obscure kind of colors are in multi-pattern packs. It's usually 4, I find, like 4 different patterns. And then just the basic holographic, like this one right here. You know, there's no kind of starry pattern or dot pattern or anything like that in there. Those ones are usually sold individually, or they come in the multi-pack too. But if they're sold in a single pack just with one pattern, it's always just the basic one, which is the one that probably people are going to use the most. It has all those colors without all that patterning on there. Because a lot of people, they're using this, you know, it's printable, so they're using it in their inkjet printers to print things out on. So having kind of a loud background, it's not going to make like reading things like text on there very easy. Okay, this is the black brilliance right there, okay? So I wanted to go for a little bit of variation in there, some greens and black like that, okay? And let's go for some, I might put a quote stamp over here, and I thought, do I put the tree on this other side like that, or do I just go with the quote? But I thought, I think the quote looks okay. I've pre-stamped out this one. My head's in the clouds. I'm not sure if I'll use that or not, but I wanted to see how this looked before I applied it or whatever, committed to it. Okay, I'm going with this brilliance here. I find that the thicker pigmentings look pretty good on there. When you stamp out, I'm stamping out over the top of some of the white in here, and the white really absorbs. That's the white brilliance ink down here. It really absorbs a lot of ink, okay? So if you stamp out black, it comes out like looking like a, I don't know, maybe like a 70% gray or something like that. I did stamp directly with that dye-base green up there, and it looks pretty dark, but you can see in the dye-base green here, where I stamped it over the white, it's, I don't know, like a 50% version of that green. So I stamped it pretty dark, okay? All right, so we have that. Let's take a look. I always get my bearings on how things are looking in the reflection format like that. I'm going to put this little meadowy area down here. I don't know if I can do like fireflies or something like that. This is a starry background, but I mean, it is fairly light, okay? But I imagine this little girl on a swing kind of right down in here, and I don't know, just some grasses or something like that down here. Maybe I should stamp her now, because I did cut off some of the height of this. See, this one's a little bit higher right here. From top to bottom, there's like a 1/4 inch less, so I don't have as much space to work with here. Let's see, let's put her down about right here. We have these ropes right here holding the swing, but I've just made that where you can extend those as long as you want to. And I'll show you how to stamp it out here in a second. It's fun stuff, Kathy. It goes on real blotchy because it dries really quickly, if you know, the Brilliance ink. But as I was mentioning in my videos, I mention it in like every one of them that I've done this with. It's going to come out blotchy because I know what people do. They kind of get into it and they kind of panic. As maybe I don't know, I didn't panic, but I was thinking, it's looking kind of blotchy when I apply my clouds. But you have to kind of just build it up, you know. It's not like all smooth, you know, with the first few applications because it's grabbing the ink so fast, okay? All right, let's see here. I want to stamp her in my clouds. Okay, so that's why I've built up a lot of clouds in here. I don't want... Okay, now see these ropes right here? Don't put too much pressure around on those. Okay, so see, I'm putting my pressure down here, kind of in her body area, because if I press hard up there, those tops of those are going to kind of get smashed a little bit, and then they'll get wider up top. I mean, if they do that, you know, if I did that, I could put some extra white pigment ink over it and obscure it. But if I don't have to do that, that would be my preference, to not have to repair. Okay. And I let that dry on there like so. And you can see those two little rope areas do end. And that's when I'll just go into it. Let's see, where did my... I just have a little gel pen right here. And I'll take a straight edge like this, okay? Or a ruler, whatever. And like this, and I'll extend this up here like so. And I'm extending it to one of these thicker branches up here, okay? If you didn't, you know, I mean, that was just a little bit of line there. If you don't extend it, that would be fine too. You know, just the girl would be falling through space. If it's close enough to the branch, it's okay though. You know, without adding in there if you want, you know, if you don't want to. All right, so see that like that? It's kind of fun. Here she is, kind of like right over that little pond-ish area, like that. And I'll put her, you know, I don't want it to look like she's like swinging, you know, like 30 feet in the sky. You could, I don't know, maybe that'd be nice and dramatic, but we'll put a little bit of a grassy area down here, which will be the far side of this pond, or that's what it'll represent. And I'll do that in the same tones that I did up here in these trees. That tree area looks a little bit cluttered, but we'll kind of remedy that a little bit. Hello, Carol. How are you? Good to see you. Oh, by the way, so Candy's here. Candy stamped a scene. Candy, what is that background that you did on yours? It's all like, I thought it was oxides or something. So Candy posted a scene up, and I've been meaning to get to this girl kind of swinging in the clouds type of thing, but I saw her piece, and it's like, okay, I got to get to that, like today, which is yesterday. Now see this, I mention this every time here, but as I'm doing this, I tend to cluster this a little bit like in here. I'll stamp it like there, but you see, each time I stamp it out, now I'm re-inking in between impressions, but I'm stamping it out. But you can see how my angle goes down like this, and then I go down like this, okay, with each impression. And each impression gets a little bit more angled like this, okay? So right here, I'm coming like this, this, okay? It kind of goes counter to this form, kind of looping over that way, but, you know, it's good enough. Okay, so that's the green there. And then we'll go with this. Now, I need to get a black brilliance pad. I mean, a green brilliance pad, or if not a couple of them. But until then, I just use the dye-based ink, and it stamps into the white brilliance ink foundation just fine, okay? This is the green just directly on top of that printable vinyl too, and it looks, you know, okay. Don't have my perseverance. How long do you give your cards, Kathy? This background only took me 15 minutes. Unless you're, what is that? Those cards, Stamping It and Company. There's that card. Isn't the Take 10 magazine devoted to like 10-minute cards? All right, so see, here's this little area down here like so. I normally would come in here and blend in a little bit more with, if this is on a regular piece of paper, white paper, dye-based inks, you know, that type of thing, building up some tones, I would normally come into that and round this off a little bit, but I don't know, I think it might look a little bit awkward down here. So, I don't know, makes it less work for us to have to do. All right, see that like that? Isn't that fun there with the area down below? I might add a little bit of tone in here though, as well as up here. This is looking a little bit cluttered to me. I don't have to do it with the ink though when I'm talking about adding a little tone down here. I can use some colored pencils on there because of the white foundation of the brilliance ink in the background. And then one of the things I was mentioning, I think I'm going to add in this moon in here. I mean, I think this looks pretty interesting like that, but that's a big field of the same thing. So I don't know, like this moon in here might be kind of interesting. And for me to, well, maybe not entirely, but sometimes I ask myself if I was like a kid or something like that. Actually, that moon looks kind of cool right there. Let me see it without this. Yeah, it's still, I think this looks pretty cool right here. I asked myself what I like. Would I like that better there? A glow-in-the-dark moon. That is a glow-in-the-dark one. I printed it on the vinyl sticker paper, the glow-in-the-dark vinyl sticker paper. And if the 7-year-old in me would like that in there more, then that it goes in, not just on this card, but on anything. Glitter now, you know, I'm adding more of those types of blingy types of editions. Or maybe I didn't before. Okay, let's see here. Let's just go ahead and add that in right now. I didn't know if I wanted this kind of like, sometimes if you put something like this, like right in the center, it creates a little bit of, kind of like a tension. Let's see. I'll go a little bit more like this. It's like a compositional tension, okay? But I think it looks okay there, like that. And I think I am going to add this in here. We'll work on it without it first there, though. I don't know how much of that moon. Well, okay, that moon kind of does appear down there. The lower on the horizon right here, the more of the reflective type of quality you'll get from it. You know, you can see my finger right here. It's right in this area right here. You can see this up here, how it gets a little bit more blurred out because we're that distance from that object now, where like her reflection is a little bit more clear, as is the grasses right in here. So okay, so let's see here. Okay, now my tree right here, and this always happens on this type of paper, you know, because we're stamping these inks into other inks, okay, that are on, this kind of unconventional stamping paper. I think it works great for us, but it is still an unconventional surface. But we're stamping media on media. So like in here, where my preference would be that come out at least 90% gray, or even black would be great, but it often doesn't. But the thing is about this is you can just go right back in and you can color this with a colored pencil, okay? If this were stamped directly on top of the sticker paper, well, it probably would have stamped out darker if I did, but I'm coloring this right in here with this pencil because I'm coloring kind of that white Brilliance ink that's underneath that branch, okay? If I try to go with colored pencil directly on top of this vinyl, it's just not going to apply because it'd be like trying to use your colored pencils on like, a piece of plastic or something like that. But the Brilliance ink, water-based Brilliance pigment ink, is really fantastic because it kind of gives you a little bit of it's almost like, like a piece of paper almost. In terms of a surface to apply things like colored pencils on, as long as they're nice and or somewhat soft style colored pencils, okay? Harder ones, they might not apply very nicely. Experiment a little bit though. Okay, I'm adding a little bit of tone to the girl. I mean, it's supposed to be kind of a nighttime thing, so it's not like going to be like full color or anything like that. But you can get a little tinge of tone in there just so she doesn't look kind of like anemic. It's not supposed to be a ghost girl in this case. Maybe for my Halloween scene she would be. Okay. Be kind of interesting, like a blood red sky or something like that, and you have this kind of, I don't know, whatever, ghostly presence. Maybe we'd stamp her out in white over a dark page instead or something like that. Seems like something that would be in a horror movie, some girl on a ghostly girl on an apparition on a swing set. All right. Let's see here. Let's add in some additional tones. There's not a huge amount to do on here. I just have to kind of stamp the foreground and apply that quote stamp in here. See this right here? I can see where her reflection is down here. So when I put in some additional imagery in here, I won't obscure here. I'll have like some grasses or something like right down here, right over here. And you don't want it like right here. Because the fun thing is having her reflect down in here. The moon, I'm not going to kind of worry about too much. I mean, I can see the moon if I go like that, but, a little bit. But I'm not going to worry if I put some grasses here or something like that. She's the big thing. The main kind of, whatever, focal point. All right, let's see. I can add some black down here. I think I'm just going to... I'll make a little bit of bluish tinge. What I'm doing here is this area right in here, I mean, that is a really busy area, right? From a textural standpoint. So what you do is you just kind of decrease the contrast between the background and these. Now, I'm not going to do it all here, but we'll just change kind of the base of this a little bit. So I'll add a little bit of tone down here, like so. I should probably do green, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'll add a little of that in there. It's not, I mean, I'm not supposed to be adding in like extra grass or anything like that, but I guess it is the color scheme of that area. Greens and whatever, grays. Let's do this up here too. Let's add a little bit of tone right up here in the corner, just to kind of make a little bit of a vignette there. I've done reflection cards, though I don't have enough patience to get the coverage I need to stamp over the holographic with the Brilliance ink. Oh, Kathy, just do quarter page ones, or do start off with bookmarks or something like that, you know. But the biggest thing is just having enough ink on here, and then just use your, you know, 100% cotton ball. This gives, you know, pretty fast coverage. I mean, if you like that look, you know. I mean, I find that it's for me, it's not, you know, it. I like the background in here on these ones, but for me, the thing that I like about these metallics and this Brilliance ink on there, it's this right here. You know how colored pencils are? Colored pencils kind of have a really nice soft look to them. I mean, some people, you know, some colored pencil artists, you know, go for like I'm sure a more, whatever, German expressionist look with hard marks and everything like that. But to me, they're not as soft as like pastels or something like that. But you can get a really soft look from them. You know what I mean? They're not as like super intense as things can be with like paints and even dye-based inks, stuff like that. So it's this soft contrast against this going on here. See how soft these clouds look in here? And I mean, I can get that with just the white, kind of, but this big area of white, I don't know. I think, to me, it looks too much. So having it, you know, some of this, kind of these soft forms in here, shadow areas, created with the colored pencils. Really, to me, it balances. That's the word I'm looking for. It balances off that in there, kind of. I mean, I mean, the holographic vinyls are. I mean, they're going to be dominant in there in terms of what they, whatever, represent, or whatever their, you know, what their characteristic is always going to be the dominant thing in a scene. First of all, they're moving and they're changing colors like that, so it's a lot of movement within a piece, okay? But this, to me, it helps to kind of offset that a little bit. That's why I do a lot of coverage in these ones like that. Like right here is just kind of this area right through here. I mean, if it was over the whole thing, it might, you know, I don't know, it might kind of look interesting, but it would drown out a lot of the things in here, I think. So that's why I like the white in there, and because it blocks out, and then I can also add in these colored pencil touches in there. Because that was a big thing I didn't use. I wouldn't have thought to use this before, because I thought, okay, that's going to be like too loud. I'm not even be able to see any of the images. But it's like, oh my god, that white Brilliance ink really, really opens up the possibilities in terms of the look that you can achieve on here with these. Now, if you're using like really hard colored pencils, and there's certain brands that are harder, and like I said, there's some of my Prismacolors out of my same pack, I can't put them over the white because they're just too hard. I don't know, the certain colors just can't apply. It's almost like you're digging up the you know, the white pigment ink off of there instead of applying. So you got to just do some tests on there. Okay, let's see this. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'm being a little bit too conservative here. Let's go for a little bit more. Let's go with the black. And my black Prismacolor is the softest one, luckily, because that's also the one that I'm using last usually. And I like that it's just so soft. It seems like it can just apply over everything. See how, see how that's darker down here than over here? I'm not just trying to go like really dark, but just to kind of mellow that out a little bit. All right, corners like that. Let's put a little bit in this one here. I'll just go for like a 5% gray up here or something like that, just to kind of round this off a little bit and frame off a little bit. See that? A little bit like that. And then we'll do that up here too. I have all my oak branch right there too. And it was getting a little bit cluttered looking up there. So what you do is you just decrease some of that contrast and make the background a little bit darker there. And that helps it out a little bit. All right, let's take a look here and see. Okay, all right. A little bit more mellow here, down here, next to the water. But up here, that gets a little bit busy too. It's because I built up like a gigantic, I was gonna put this shoreline in here, like this, so that it'd be some like grassy little knoll, and I was gonna put that in there, but then I thought, okay, she's coming down here. I don't have room for this. It's gonna look, I don't want her like, to be like swinging, and it's like 5 inches from this thing. So I just went with the reeds instead. But let's mellow out these reeds a little bit. So we go dark at the base, and we'll go lighter in a couple areas on the top of this, okay? Let's see. Halloween Live sounds great. Yeah, the Halloweens are always fun. They always we come up with some like different types of projects. I don't know. I find with Halloween, I don't know. It's kind of like for me. I mean, I've done a lot, those before, but I was kind of limited. That's why I came out with those. Like, there were so many Halloween sheets that I came out with, because there was like so many different images that I have always felt, I can really use whatever when I'm trying to do a Halloween themed card. So we came up with a bunch of images. All right, so putting this up here like that, and see that right in there, those reeds right there and right down there, they seem like they're a little bit farther back in the distance like that. So I'll do that on some of these as well. It doesn't really matter which ones you do, just, do whatever, do some of them and leave the other ones as is. So now we got a little bit of a lighter top of the reed, and it's darker down below, so we get this little transition right there. Let's see, let's make these ones a little bit lighter right here, right around her foot. I mean, this grass is supposed to be like in the foreground, and then she's in the background, okay? But optically, I don't want to make it look like she's getting stabbed in the foot. All right, so go like that. See that right there? It's a little bit softer on top. And this one right here, it's not so kind of pointy, or it is, but it's just lighter. It's less kind of, I don't know, whatever, dangerous. It's soft pointers that are kind of pointing up there. Okay, let's see. I use chrome coat paper and Memento Distress inks. I make my own blending applicators refills. Now, what do you mean by that, Candy? Blending applicator refills. Oh, you mean, oh, yeah. So when your applicators, you mean like for the stylus tools or something like that? Or, and you make your own, replacement, pads or something like that. All right, see this right here? Lights in motion like that. Let me see right here. I think this is going to go right here. I do love text with imagery visuals like this. It is rather like a dominant form, but I have so much space over here like this. Let's see. I'm looking for my tape runner. I think I have that in the other room. I'll just go with my I'll just go with my Barely Art here. Glue here. I don't want too much on there, just enough. Going here. I'm looking up at my screen. Sometimes it's easier to see from my camera up above. Go like something like that. The other kind of word stamps I had was I had moonlight. I could put moonlight over here and starlight over here, something like that, on a couple different, you know, things, and kind of play around with the text placement like that. Okay, let's see. All right, let's have some fun down in this lower area, and I'll keep it pretty minimal. All right, so this is what those reflections look like, just as is, okay, in that reflection card. I don't necessarily like this reflecting down here. I do like the moon, though, but, you know, the text is kind of something. So I'll put in some reeds right in here. We'll be able to see that a little bit, but not too much. But it's usually like a 45-degree angle like this, okay? So let's make this look a little, you know, or quite a bit more dimensional. And let's add this down here. I'm going to be careful not to obscure her if I can. Okay, so I'll make a mental note that it's like right about here and over, you know, if you need to put like a little dot there or something like that. But down here, just remember to switch up, okay, and go with your StazOn ink, or just something that's going to apply to this type of paper. If there's other brands of solvent inks, you can use those. I would think. I don't know. Is there another brand of like a solvent ink out there, you know, where you can stamp on, you know, non-porous surfaces? I keep saying StazOn because I don't know, that's the only one. But I'm pretty sure the Brilliance is the only water-based pigment ink out there. For this area up here. Okay, let's see. Where was it again? Let's see, right here. Okay. All right, I'm going to put that. My first impression is going to be right here. If you haven't stamped with onto foils before, just have like a test piece and stamp on that. You know, if you want to kind of practice a little bit, because it's easy to stamp down and it's like, oh my god, it slid or it's skewed, because like especially if your ink pad's like super juicy, you might have like a puddle of ink, maybe not on this reed one that's, you know, like so thin in terms of these blades, but whenever I don't do this for a while and I go back, it's like, oh my god, did that move on me or something like that. I always think that I botched the impression, okay? But if you have StazOn cleaner or alcohol, you put it on a cotton ball and just wipe it right off, okay? All right, so see that? Down there. Uh-oh, I did get into her head a little bit. So I'll be careful. That's all I'll do over here. And right over here, let's see, we'll start from right here and go this way. this. Oh, I skewed that one a little bit so that my blades are a little bit fatter, just as I was saying that. So I do it too. I don't want to slide it like a 1/4 inch though, you know. But it was probably like a 1/16 of an inch, you know, that I moved it, or maybe 32nd or something like that. So as I'm doing this, I don't know if you can see, but I'm kind of careful about my placement. If you're using like a positioner, maybe, you know, maybe you don't even have to worry about that at all. You know, platform. And of course, the StazOn will dry on here, you know, reasonably fast. But remember, it's not going to dry as fast as paper because it's not absorbing into the surface like at all. Okay. It's just completely surface oriented on there. Okay, now right up here, let's go with, let me see, I'll just leave that there. And we'll go with some of these little rocks right here. Reflect really nicely. Or, I don't know, what it is. They don't reflect, but they're like a static object against this kind of motion that you get from the movement of the reflection card. Okay, I'll do it on one side. You can see it right down here. So see these little rocks like that? See how much more, like, it creates this dynamic of that static area above the movement. I forget what they call that, you know, the movement from like a point or something like that against something in the distance. I mean, what they called it. I forgot what they called it in astronomy. Was it parallax or something like that? Okay, adding some of this in. We're getting some darker and lighter impressions on here. I saw I'm doing multiple impressions with it. Okay, let's take a look. Like about like so. Okay, you can see these down here. See that movement against the, like that moon or the background like that. It really creates a nice, kind of dynamic. Let's put a couple more like right around in here. I'll try to go for a dark one right here without skewing it. I just added these right here. Okay, see that right there? Yeah, see that right there against that background like so. I guess you can just stamp other things like water lilies or something like that. In the foils, if you stamp at anything that's like too much surface area though, it's really hard to get a good impression, like i.e. these silhouettes in here. When I tried stamping them on the foil, I stamp it out and then I lift it up and there's this big area in the middle that doesn't stamp. It's almost like it creates like an air pocket or something like that, or it stays, I don't know what it is. It's like you're stamping it out and it's staying moist on the interior, where when you're making that connection between the rubber and the perimeter, it's there, but I don't know, the center is like airtight, you know, and then when you lift it up, you know, that StazOn didn't dry on there and thus transfer. So I don't know, it's a little tricky, but if you do that, then you just fill it in. If you have the perimeter stamped out, you fill it in with some Sharpie pen like that, you know. But all right, that is that portion of it. I'm going to put a few little highlights in here, and that should be done. See, Kathy has a tough time with cotton balls there. Kathy, are you okay? Now, I'm sure you are, but I'll ask. You're working with 100% cotton balls, right? Because if I was working with those synthetic ones, it would take me 6 hours to do because they just don't absorb moisture. They wick moisture away, so it's hard to load up a cotton ball with the pigment ink. Okay. Okay, what do you use for applicators other than cotton balls? I don't know. For dye-based inks, Kathy, it's sponges, it's absorbent things. So for me, household items like paper towels, I do all my color applications on like cardstocks, glossy cardstocks, semi-gloss, matte, or whatever. I do them with paper towels. I used to use Colorbox stylus tools, but Colorbox ClearSnap went out of business, so there goes that. Kathy, Colorbox used to make stylus tools. Oh, yeah. Those ones were fantastic. I'm an artist. You are a card maker. What's the difference? That's why, people, I noticed that, I don't know, when there were stampers, and when I noticed, maybe it's the absence of stores or something like that. Okay. So I can teach this. I've taught this in, like live, like in a make and take table. I didn't have like a make and take going on, but if someone wanted to learn it, when I was demoing this at Arizona at a couple different shows, everyone gets it just fine. But I don't know, there's this notion that, oh, okay, I can't do that anymore. Where it's like no one used to think that. It's like I can't wait to learn how to use it used to be the thing. But I don't know, there's some over time, it's like there was this like fear or something like that. Like these types of techniques like this, I've taught thousands of people like that, and kids too, We used to get this kind of thing where at conventions, we didn't encourage that, but I didn't, turn people away either. But like a lot of parents would just park their kids at my booth. Okay, you stand there and you do that, that make and take. I'm going to go over here, So I'd get a lot of kids that were 10 or something like that. I don't know if they were younger. I might have gotten some younger ones than that. I don't think the parents took kindergarteners though. They just wouldn't be able to handle walking around a convention as long as the parents wanted to stay there though. But they all got it. But with things like this, they just have to follow what I'm saying all the time. It's the amount of base layer ink that's the key. And what people are doing is they see this and they just kind of put on a layer of color like they're coloring it. But with something like this, it's more kind of in the spirit. It's like you're coloring, but you're also, if you combine like the spirit of coloring something with like making a holiday turkey. It's the spirit of glazing it, and the more glazes you put on a turkey or a holiday ham or something like that that's cooking in the oven for a while, that glaze gets more rich and rich and rich. And that's what you're kind of doing with that. So with my workshops or make and takes, you just start people off with an adequate amount of ink for their first color, okay? And, from then on, it was no problem. Everyone, 100% of the people got it. I taught that same technique, not only on paper, but I taught it on, they called it stamp board at the time. Now it's called clayboard art tiles. And they applied the same type of toning onto their clayboard art tiles, but I gave them, this is both the kindergartners and preschool kids, and they got a scratch knife like this. And they scratched and did reverse marks in there, adding stars and highlights onto their rocks, and it's no problem. But You just have to get people using the right amount of ink on there. So when people say like, oh my God, hey, I can't get it, it's kind of like a little bit of a compliment. They're saying, hey, that looks like really good. You don't want someone to look at your pieces and say, oh my God, that's like really easy to do. But the ideal combination, the only one that works for me, is if it's an easier technique, but it just doesn't look that way, right? I'm not going to come up, we're not doing oil painting here. That's going to take like, or oil painting is a little bit easier, like watercolor painting or like calligraphy. You really got to kind of practice a lot at that. But on something like this, if I walked someone through it and they followed me, they get it every time. And I'm there too, so I'm saying stuff like, hey, you got to use more, apply more white there, you know what I mean? Because I just know that if we're going to put some colored pencil over it, if it's like too thin of an application, it doesn't have enough for the colored pencil to grab onto. So as long as you're doing, the proportions, it's easy to do. It's not like it's like a first time type of thing too. It's because we've done it, But again, you don't want people to look at your final piece and say, my God, how easy is that to do? Okay, I'm going to put like these little fireflies in here. Now I just did them in white. I'm going to add a little bit of a other touch to them as well. But see up here, I'm going to add in some kind of some highlights in there. It's just a big jumble right now, right? So we're going to go in and add in some little highlights in here, like so. Acrylic paint pens, by the way. I think I just clogged this with some of that pigment ink in there. Some of that pigment ink can go up in there sometimes. Okay, so you kind of do that and then scribble. Don't pogo stick like this, into your paper. All right, so a little bit of highlights up there like that, okay? I just kind of want it to bring it out a little bit from the background. It's kind of a jumble in there, so you're adding an element of kind of a crisp element into something that's already a little bit cluttered. And then we'll go into it with some white. Okay, so I saw that up there. Has anyone used the Ranger blending tool? Are you talking about that peg style blending tool that's real vertical? Is it the Tim Holtz one where that has the Velcro on it? I think I have one of those. And I think that would be okay to use. For me, though, like I said, I think I have one. But for me, though, I don't like a vertical style of applicator. I think it had, I don't know, it was like this peg that went down and you go like this, okay? Because my hand is like this, okay? This is your ergonomic kind of motion right here. Okay, that's what was great about the Color Box Stylus tool, is it was like a pen. So that's why I do this. I mean, there's nothing more ergonomic than like finger painting. So I just do this, and it's like I'm using my finger literally on that. People don't like that though. It's like, hey, I don't feel like like an artist, like finger painting. We did that in kindergarten. Although we can say though, like little kids, they're like the ultimate artists, like zero fear, kind of open to anything. It was really easy to teach them too. I did, when I volunteer a little bit in, my son's classes, and inevitably the teacher finds out, oh, hey, you do crafting, can you do? So they put me in charge of like the Christmas project or something like that kids would give to their parents. So I did those little pins with the the stamp board. Or no, we did refrigerator magnets, not pins. And yeah, the kids did great. We brought them in like 6 at a time. I had an assistant help me out, but they did 100% of the stamping and coloring. I didn't touch their pieces. And it was the same project that I have on the website. I think someone just did the exact same project too on for Rubber Stamp Madness. They just copied my lesson plan like literally and submitted it to Rubber Stamp Madness as a project, and they ran it. Okay, let's see. Let's go in and let's add in a little bit of glowing tone down here. It's not real dark, so it's not going to, look too much like like little fireflies or something like this, okay? But we're just going for a little bit of texture within here, and this whole area in there got a little bit busy. So we can add in a little bit of this soft glowing element that's in the background here, and you have the reeds in here, and then you can put the same kind of glowing softness right here in the foreground. So you're kind of sandwiching the things that are sharp in between things that are soft, okay? So it provides a nice contrast in there. There's all kinds of different contrasts you can do on your pieces. If something's, okay, so on here, the things that were bothering me was it was just too sharp and cluttered down here. So I went in here with some softness, and then you get rid of some of that sharpness, right? It's a little bit in your face because those reeds were the closest thing to you. Now you've put those things in back of something. It's all still there and very visible, but you've pushed it you've pushed it back in distance a little bit, okay? It's one layer back, okay? So I pushed my things that I don't like, so maybe when we look in these areas, we see this little glowing thing before you see the grasses like that. So there's all kinds of little things like that you can do like that. Let's put a couple of these little fireflies up here in the tree too, maybe. I don't know if fireflies go that high. Do they hang out in trees? I'm not sure. I never see that. They're usually a little more lower on the ground, but just in terms of a textural type of thing, we can add that in there like so. And see those little things that are glowing like that? See that right there? They reflect down in this area too. Like about like that. I could put some of those little glowing little things right in here too. Okay, but if I do that though, one of the things that I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to spray seal this, okay? Because this will adhere and, I mean, it'll go on here and dry on here on the silver cardstock, but it won't adhere very well. So I would have to give it a little bit of a shot of some, I use Krylon spray fixative. I think it's going to be worth it though. Let's just do it. I think a couple little of those bugs down here. I'm just going to go with white. I know they're kind of more greenish in tinge. When I spray seal this too, I'll just spray down here. I'll just give a quick kind of spray right down here. And I won't spray this top portion, because when you do spray this silver cardstock, it can get a little bit frosted and less mirrored, okay? So I like using the spray fixative. It's a matte spray fixative, which in my mind, I thought that would give a more matte finish to this, and I thought glossy would be better, but the glossy is a thicker spray, so it was applying more acrylic spray on this mirrored surface, and it was making it less mirror-like, where the workable fixative was just a thinner application of acrylics, so it stays more mirror-like, okay? Let's see here. Jewelry dies that cut foam. Oh, that's awesome, Candy. Hello, Josh. How are you? Oh, hey, that sounds great, Josh. I like to hear it. Do all kinds of creative things. When you see like cool, like cloud formations or something like that, take pictures of that. Everyone's got a phone these days. I was telling my friend that was out hiking in Joshua Tree. He's a really good like landscape photographer. But I said, hey, it's really awesome, because I used to go hiking with him all the time, like 20 years ago. It's like 25 years ago. My gosh. And I said, the great thing about it is these days everyone has like phones and cameras on them and, you know, video recorders. So we can capture all these other things, and it kind of makes us more observant too. But any kind of creative thing, I don't know. I think it gives us something to kind of look forward to or looking at. We look at the world differently. Okay, so what I did down here, see these little glowing things. It doesn't show up too much, okay? But it has that little bit of texture. I don't know. Can you see that, you guys? It's like that. Now that looks really weird, but this is what it's looking like this, okay? When you look at it in context. I liked, I posted this, that video, or it was either the video or the Facebook post where I showed this and someone said, hey, that really reminds, I don't know, it triggered some kind of memories of, being a girl on a swing or something like that, which is what I wanted from these pieces like this. I wanted this new line to be really evocative. So I put these different figures in kind of some different positions, and I think it's doing the trick. For me, at least. Okay, let's see. A 10-minute card. It takes me 10 minutes to get... Isn't that what Take 10's about, though? Yeah, I'm with you, though, Carol, If I have everything out, I bet you I can do this card, though, in... I don't know if maybe 15 minutes or something like that. Now that I've done it, okay? I think I could do that. Because this is largely just getting that white pigment ink down and then just stamping over it. Now, I mean, that dream thing and cutting that out and, cutting out the paper. I think I can get this foundation here because I think I took about like 35 minutes. But I was like blundering through trying to figure something out with those cloud areas like that. But I think if I were to do it again, I think I can do that. Is Barely Art glue worth it? I wondered about that, Kathy, because I was using this like 20-year-old glue. I was using this for a while. Everyone always said, hey, what do you have that pin in there for? And I used that in here to... I would poke my pin in there to get that unclogged. But I was using this 20-year-old one, this Tombow, for a long time. And then I went on, like, here, I don't know, on a live stream. And I said, okay, I was fed up with that glue. It was all thick and everything. And so people all recommended the Barely Art. And then there was this one other one. Did anyone answer you down here? There was this one other one. And then I asked my wife, who's a scrapbooker or stamper too. I said, hey, what glue should I get? And she said, the other one. I said, well, they said the Barely Art one. She says it's the same thing. But the thing that for me is this, that precision tip thing right there. I mean, I really needed that. I don't know, but you know what I mean? I take it it's better than Elmer's, but when I started looking at it, I was expecting the Elmer's price. So I was a little bit shy. I'm frugal, you know. People think I probably buy a ton of like media. I don't. I use like simple things. You know, we're talking about ink applicators. I use paper towels and cotton balls. You know, they're in the house already. You know, so and those work fine for me. They're not, you know, definitely not fancy, but you know, those types of things, they're, you know, they're in theory, they're made to absorb. I was using the color box stylus tools for years, and the thing that I didn't like about that was, you know, someone on Australia is watching the video and they think, hey, I'd like to do scenic stamping, but I don't have color box stylus tools, so I can't do it. You know what I mean? But I don't know, like the kitchen sponge and paper towel, those are absolutely made for absorption, right, of liquids. And what are the things that we're applying? We're applying liquids, right? So sometimes when I see other things that aren't meant for, they're designed for something completely different, but they've been kind of whatever you call it, appropriated or whatever, they've been used in our stamping industry. And maybe the brushes are used for dry media, and they're saying it's here, use it for your ink blending. It's like the absolute opposite of kind of the initial intention for those things. You know, it's like the makeup sponges, you know, or makeup brushes. They're made for dry media, powdered media to apply. So when I've used those, and I thought, okay, I can see them being used in like maybe my darker colors, but if I'm trying to apply a decent amount of tone, I'm tapping into my wet media, and it is just not applying anything because it didn't absorb any of it. So yeah, that one I don't really like. Maybe for certain types of approaches though, like on certain types of papers, it would be really good for like a real super pastel-y type of light look. You know, those would be good, but not for a lot of things like you know, like paintbrushes. You wouldn't want to use a paintbrush where you're trying to dip into it and it's just like not, you know, wicking, or it's not absorb, you know, taking it in by whatever capillary action. You know, it's like repelling it. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't work. Is there another black ink you like after Marvy? Okay, so Candy, I've even been using the Marvy just because I have it, and I don't just buy other black pads, you know, just for the sake of it. But the stays on, of course. But you're probably asking specifically dye based, right, Candy? The Moonlight Night one, the hybrid one, is fantastic. This is the hybrid one, so it's dye and pigment. I like the VersaFine Clair for absorbent media or surfaces. And the other one that I've used a lot in the past was I don't know, you guys are going to help me out here. Is it Memories Black? The dye-based one that's kind of thick. It was really super black, though. And I couldn't stamp it out and just immediately go over it. I mean, you can't really do that with even like the Marvy one, which is like a thinner one, but Memories was a really good one, though. I would heat set it, though, a little bit. So I haven't used my Memories in a long time. Yeah, here it is right here. This is probably something from like 30 years ago. It's probably, if it's out there still, it's probably in a different packaging. But this one right here is a really good one. It says it's fade resistant too. Oh, it's Stewart Superior. They make a lot of pads for a lot of different companies. But the Memories one was really good. I think that one came up a lot. You know, a lot of people, you know, when I used to go to retreats, I don't know, you know, like different questions would go around in the room as we were stamping, and like, what's your favorite black ink would come up. A lot of people, it was StazOn, just because at the time we were coloring with water-based markers like Tombows and La Plumes. And the water-based ones, you know, it wouldn't smear or put back into solution the solvent-based impressions, where now it's the opposite. A lot of people are coloring with more with alcohol pens, so you stamp in the water-based ones, water-based impressions. But yeah, I don't know. Did anyone else answer that for Candy with the black there? What are other people's favorite black ink? How is like the what's that? Those inks by that. There's that big ink line that's really popular right now. I can't remember her name. It's the name of some person, though. I don't know. Probably a lot of them are, but those inks look pretty good to me. I like the pad at least. They remind me, looking at them, I've mentioned this before, of the Clear Snap Vivid pads with that super spongy material on there. I haven't used any of those ones, but if it's the same type of ink that's in those ones, that would be a really good one. I don't know, I can't remember the name of it. Glad you guys like the piece. This card here. So I don't know. So here, here, this video right here. So I did this one right here, and I really liked it. So I thought, it's if you're doing like, I can do a card just like this, and I thought that would be, pretty fun. And I think it makes for a fine card just as is. But you can see in the reflection card, I used two different stamps down here in StazOn, and all of my efforts up top are like doubled now. So if you do this reflection card format, everything that you worked on up here is doubled down here. I think it's even more than doubled, because I think it looks so much more three-dimensional this way. So and then you get kind of the movement up there. See that moon right there as you open up this card like that? That was my original kind of idea for these reflection cards. I thought I was going to do one of those pull tab things where you have this thing on the side and you pull it, and then, the thing kind of moves up. I wanted that movement to be in there from like a rising moon. And then I thought of, I don't know, whatever, why I thought of that, but I thought if we just make use of this, then you can have this kind of movement, without having to do anything. I know people think I'm, do like complex types of things. I do things to avoid work, okay? So here's this thing where I have this. It's a three-dimensional looking scenario here, but I didn't have to do anything three-dimensional. I think I'm getting too much of a... Okay, there we go. I just cut down my exposure a little bit. All this metallic is exposing up into the camera, and it's making it a little bit... it's making it compensate for that. But yeah, I try to avoid things, a lot of other work. I'll put the work into whatever it takes for me to get some kind of desired result, but I'm not doing like big, huge constructions, although I love them, but I kind of shy away from that, or doing like a ton of masking or anything like that. Just not into it, I'll do it if I was like taking a workshop from someone or something like that. I'm sure I'd enjoy it, but I just don't think to do those types of things, or like masking out things. And I do like vellum techniques, so I don't have to mask off a bunch of trees in the foreground. I just stamp on the front and the back of the vellum, and I don't have to mask off. So I'm a lazy stamper that likes things a certain way, though, so I'll try to find some other technique within it, kind of an easier process, believe it or not. But if you look at all my stuff, it's the same way. I'm kind of, for three-dimensional things, I haven't done like pop-up dots or anything like that. Though I love that look, and that's not a hard technique or something like that, but I'm not doing like foam core types of things with lights in them or something like that. I just use like the glow-in-the-dark sticker paper for my lights, but I love those looks of like like those LED things, constructions that people are doing with like foam core, and they're dimensional, but the lights are kind of embedded in there, and you have the kind of the wiring going on the back. I love that thing, so I'm trying to find like some other types of processes that will get me kind of something light coming out, but without the work. The white on thick enough. You got to layer it on there, Kathy. I don't know. Re-ink your pad or something like that. Send me a photo of it too, Kathy. Email it to me. I want to take a look and let me see what you've done. You just might have to go on thicker. Or what you do is if you're applying it in one area, I don't know, try a little bit of masking or something like, like a paper towel mask, and then you build it up in a certain area and then just transition it a little bit. Okay. But you can't build, so as long as it's the printable vinyl we're talking about though too, because if you try to build up on holographic vinyl or foils, now that's a challenge there because it's not adhering and drying on there. So for me, that's really hard to do. It's not hard to do, but it really takes some, like touch, And then when I apply more, you know what I mean? It's like I'm trying to get it thicker on there, but it's like removing, when I've already applied, so that happens on there. So as long as it's the printable vinyl that we're talking about, I don't have any problem building it up. But you just might re-ink too. Yeah, the stylus tools are awesome, Kathy. Yeah, the heads are worn out. So yeah, so did you get that tip from who was it? Was it Candy? You switch out your heads. And so it was that art foam, right? Crafter's foam or something like that. I know people used to use that as one of those types of replacement foams. And then someone told me on the live stream they use Gorilla Glue. I think because they said it was waterproof to adhere, or some other type of tape. Someone else used tape, I think. And it would seem like it would need to be like super aggressive to connect foam to plastic. But you can, those little nib heads, save those. Don't toss those out with the worn out foam on them because you can replace the foam and use that. But those, I don't know, those foam, if people were, and people are just cutting it out. It doesn't have to be like a perfect oval or whatever shape you're going with. As long as it's kind of just roughly like that. Because, we used to use the wedges, the makeup wedges, those, I don't know, that's what they're called, right? Those wedges. And those ones were like square on the end. You know what I mean? So if you're cutting out those foam ones, they don't have to be that like perfect. And you just glue them on with something. I don't know, did someone else talk about that? Art glitter? I don't think it was art glitter glue, Kathy. I think it was just like a plain white glue. She told me it was the same thing as the Barely Art. I don't remember what it was. And this was like 3 years ago or something like that I picked this up. I bet you I haven't even gone through like this tip right here. It still is like really heavy. So I don't know if you're using like this glue as much as I do, which isn't very much. For me, it's been well worth it because it really, I was having a headache using that other one that I had. Mini art blending round brushes. Oh, Candy, I think you told us about that before, didn't you? Or did you post your brushes that you were using? Well, whatever you're doing, you're doing it right, looking at your pieces. Catherine Pooler. Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Anyone know about the Catherine Pooler black? How black is it? That's the thing for me is, all blacks to me, I thought the Marvy black was pretty black, but then I put it up against something and was like, oh my God, that looks like 90% gray or something like that. But I think if a black is about 92, whatever percent gray, 90% gray and darker, that for me is a really good black in a dye-based ink. You can get darker with a pigment ink because it's thicker, like your VersaFine Clairs. But those ones are just so much thicker, dye-based inks are transparent. So if you're at like at that 90% with those, that's pretty good. And the viscosity of it too, if it's a thinner viscosity, like ink, you would think, okay, thinner means it's not going to be as dark. But no, I'm just talking about the viscosity. Dye-based inks work by staining something. So if they're a little bit thinner, they can penetrate the surface better and thus stain the surface. If it's too thick, you're making your impression and you might lift and, a lot of that ink still might come off because it didn't, transfer onto the surface and into the whatever, the pulp usually of your paper. So that for me is a big factor. And a lot of the inks they make are kind of thick so that they don't pour out of your raised pads. If it's too thin, it goes out. But like what Marvy did, and I'm guessing in those, I don't have any of the Catherine Pooler ones, but when I saw like a close up of her pad, I thought, oh, that looks like a foam pad as opposed to a fabric one. So I felt like maybe she's using a little bit of a thinner ink that's being held in place by the foam, that's not going to pour out like a fabric style pad top, which they make thicker ink so it doesn't pour out. But if you're going with something that's going to hold the moisture just inherently better, like a dense foam, then they don't have to go so thick, and thus that makes it a better kind of application ability for us with the staining process. I hope I'm not kind of like confusing a bunch of people here. The foam to replace the tips of the stylus. Someone said it was, I don't know if, does anyone know if Ranger's still making that? It was like a sheet, I think, of foam. Okay. I don't know if people were using it too to replace like a pad foam or something like that. It might have been. I'm not sure. It's not like, let me see here. Yeah, it's not this, it's not like the distress foam. And this has like a material on top of it though, doesn't it? I don't know. I thought it was called craft foam or something like that from Ranger, but I'm sure other people are using other things. But yeah, Claire's not going to work on Chrome Coat. Claire's a oil-based pigment ink, and that's why Sukaneko came out with Brilliance, because oil-based pigment inks didn't work on glossy because there's no absorption. It's too thick for it. So you would have to wait for, you can stamp on a glossy cardstock like Chrome Coat with Claire, but you would have to wait for like a long time for it to dry. I had a couple things that I used to do, not the Claire, but just the VersaFine. And I would do my last impressions in the VersaFine on top of my scenes because it was like super, super dark. But then it would be where it was the last step, and then I wouldn't do anything else to it. And it can just sit on my, my shelf or whatever on my desk for like a couple days. And that seemed to dry enough, or it absorbed enough. Okay, now if someone's out where the relative humidity is different, it can change. And if you're in Arizona, maybe it dries like in 2 hours, or I don't know, whatever, 3 or 4, which I think it did. I tried, I think I brought a VersaFine Claire to get my last impressions down. And that same day that I stamped them out, those things were pretty well set. I don't know if it was 100% dry, but it was dry enough. When I saw that, I said, I'm moving out to Arizona. Just for ink drying time purposes. Let's see here. So that art foam sheets glued on with a... Oh, okay, yeah. But, okay, now that's what I was told, though, okay? I haven't tried any of those things there. Ranger, discontinue that product. Oh, no. Thanks for letting us know. Does anyone know an alternative to that? Or does anyone remember the name of it? you might be able to get a sheet of it on like eBay or something like that. Now everyone's going to run over to eBay to see that thing. But if you get a sheet of that, I mean, one sheet of that, wasn't it like 8.5 by 11 or something like that? I mean, you can get a lot of those color box stylus tools out of it. You might not need like any more sheets than that. One would probably do. But any kind of dense foam like that would be great. Okay, so like, these makeup style brushes or materials like this, if you can get here, like this thing right here, here's cosmetic sponges, right? Okay, well, here's those wedges like this, but okay, so this is an assorted one. I gotta think that you can probably find something like this, but see this right here? When Colorbox stylus tools were really good, they went with different foam tips over the years, okay? But the best ones were this type of foam right here. It's like a real dense one. You can see it's discoloring right here, but this right here has that really good, what do you call it? The resiliency or something like that, that spring back thing. And it's really nice and dense, okay? But I can, I can't imagine this is like really expensive. So you can use something like this. Some of them are a little bit too thick, but there's like a ton of these ones right here. And you can probably just like cut this right down the middle and just glue this to the tip. I don't even know if you need to like trim off the edges. But I don't know, how much is something like this going to cost? Like $2 or something like that, probably. But there's these ones, and I think I see like 3 more. These ones right here might be starting to get kind of like thick though. Okay. I don't know if that's too much of a sponge, that's like a 1/4 inch, okay? But if I see these in a multi-pack like this, I got to think that you can probably find these just, in a pack of just like that size. Like these ones are all like different, I just noticed these are all different thicknesses too. Or maybe these two are, like this one's like half the thickness of this one. I don't know. Yeah, look up cosmetic sponges and see if you can find something like this. I have no idea where this thing came from. This thing looks like a 99-cent store type of thing to me, or Dollar Tree. But you can find, I don't know, look around at, stuff like that. And I don't know. I think it would work. If you have ever considered streaming or making videos showing your illustrations making the stamps. I've shown my illustrations before, Josh, but like one stamp that we're talking about, like like even a small one would be like hours. The best format, if I was to do a design, would be time lapse for sure. You know what I mean? It would take forever. And when I'm working on my illustrations too, I don't work on one illustration, because if I worked on one illustration from start to finish, and then if I went to the next one, I've been drawing for a long time, so maybe it would kind of harmonize with the first one. But a lot of times I don't know, when I first start doing it, my hand-eye coordination gets a little better, or I might start adding in some other, textures or something like that, because, I'm still kind of learning, and I forget some things too. So when I go to the next batch, but if I worked on one from start to finish, and then I just did that 30th design is going to be rendered a little bit differently than the first one. So I usually kind of have a bunch of them kind of laid out, and I'm working on all at the same kind of time. And so they're all coming up to kind of like final resolution at roughly the same time, and I'll do like finishing touches or like little highlights or something like that on them. All at the same time, so they're a little bit more consistent, and I'm in a little bit more of a groove too when I do it that way. So if I'm just stippling or something like that for a while, I'll get in the groove of that, and it just gets it gets smoother and just better that way. So I want everything to kind of be relatively consistent like that. So I don't know. I can, if you and your girlfriend want to watch like a 12-hour stream in real time, you know what I mean? But that's also another thing too. It's like, okay, so the pens that I work with, 0.25 and 0.30 millimeter, I think it is, with the technical pens. So putting down like a field of dots, like in this little area like this or whatever, that'd be like 10 minutes or something like that. And I'd be working like this tiny thing where you wouldn't be able to even see what was being added. Yeah, like time lapse would definitely be the way to go, I guess. I do. I do show a lot of the designs in the past. I looked at. I have those in a couple of videos. If you type in like Stampscapes and like something like old designs or something like that, those videos should come up. Claire on Chrome Coat. Wait 2 years. Yeah, Candy. Do you have the time for that? We got time, right, Candy? Anything for the card. So a 2 year wait time. That's not asking much. As long as we get the desired results, huh? Okay, so Candy's, we're joking about Claire on Chrome Coat though, but see like these foreground types of things like this. Okay, not on here, not in this scene, but if we did this like Claire, let's say if it was on Claire on Chrome Coat like this, if it's the foreground imagery, that Claire might be really cool to stamp on there because it's not drying so fast. And what you do is, I haven't done it for a while, but because I haven't done a lot of embossing though, but see these like reeds down here on this card? Okay. These ones might be cool to stamp in like a Claire, and then you clear emboss it so that you get the foreground imagery raised, you know. I haven't done that enough, but I always thought that it was kind of cool. I tried it on a few things, I don't know, a couple of years ago when I started doing a little bit more embossing and busting out those old powders. But something like that would be really fun, on, to go for, where I'm usually going for dimension or something like that, like three-dimensional things like that. And that would be actually dimensional. So something like that might be fun. Ranger cut and dry felt. Okay, thank you, darling. Yeah. Yeah, see if, I don't know, you can see if any of that's on like eBay. But again, I don't know. That pack of foam things, I think those would work really great. What's the name of the foam? It was 8.5 by, okay. Got it. 8.5 by 11 point, or 8 by 11.5. Okay. That's a whole lot of those color box stylus. If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about with the color box stylus tools, this is the color box stylus tool right here, okay? Now they weren't designed as an ink blending tool, okay? But what they came in like a box. They were sold like this. Okay, here's your wand. And then you have these different foam things on these different shapes here. And it was to stamp out those shapes like that. So here's hard and here's a little star round like that. And people would ink it up and then you stamp these geometric shapes onto your card, right? But no one did that, They looked really cool and everyone bought one of these things. I didn't. But that was the idea of it, okay? But then I was using this stamp called the Tonal Applicator at the Pampered Stamper in Mesa, Arizona, teaching workshops. And I was doing this demonstration before, like the night before the workshops the next day or something like that. I was going to do a demo like one night. I think it was for the staff or something like that. And then one person said, "Hey, Kevin, have you ever used like one of these before?" And I had seen these before, but they gave me the one with the black foam pad, okay, which is this one that you're supposed to heat up and then you press it into like some rubber. It cools down very quickly and then you remove it and then it's got that, that design embedded in here And then you can ink it up and you can stamp it out and it'll have that reverse kind of thing in there, okay? But and then you heat it up again and it springs back out and you can do it over again. But I started using that on my piece to color in. I thought, oh my God, this would be great, you know. The black one didn't work really well though, but I could see that would be a really good use of this tool right here. And plus it's like super ergonomic like this. So we were talking about the Ranger one earlier. I said, is it like that peg one? That's like a stamp. It's like a, you know, like a wooden stamp with that handle on it, but it had that thing on the bottom. That to me is not like a motion that I'm doing, but I can hold this and I can go in here and it's really ergonomic. Colorbox is the only one that kind of came up with their like whatever proprietary type, you know what I mean? Things like this, you know, because it's really expensive to get a die cut for things like this and these all these little shapes like that. So you see a lot of repurposed things from other industries, like the makeup industry or something like that. And it's like, okay, you know, we're just going to repackage this makeup brush and it's an ink blender tool, you know, or something like that. But these ones were really ergonomic and really great to use, you know. And these pads, you know, you can use them for a long time. They eventually kind of start to disintegrate, but I've used some of them and, you know, like for 20 years, like these ones right here. These ones are still pretty supple and I, you know, they're just sitting on my desk or on my shelf right behind me, but these ones are great. But this is the part that, you know, you take out, see these things just pop right out like that too. And then when this thing gets worn off, you can just kind of remove it. I don't know what you use, a little X-Acto blade or something like that, or you just peel it off and kind of clean it off a little bit. And then just replace this part, you know, like I said, with that, you know, if you have some kind of foam or something like this, see this, you know, that's not too different right there in terms of like the thickness. This one's a little bit thicker, but like I said, this one's the cheaper foam that they started using, but they were going with maybe not this thick. But, you know, it was about that thickness right there. See that right there? You can see how stained this one is, but that was on there like that. So look at this right here. 1, 2, not now. You can't get 3 out of there, but like 2 out of this right here. As long as you can find a way to adhere it to this. But someone, like I said, someone told me Gorilla Glue. All right, so you can see this right here and just pop it on like that. And it's just ready to go. Don't smash this down, you know, like coloring like this. Otherwise that little point right there is could crack or something like that, okay? I mean, there's a plastic. They're not like flimsy or anything like that. But sometimes when people are like, coloring or something, or maybe it was when we were cleaning it, I just take a wet paper towel and I just dab this into it like that, okay? So sometimes after a show or something like that, I think I pressed too hard. I was going like this because I was trying to clean up like 50 of them. And I like cracked it in there. It's probably because I was doing it week after week though on the same one. But yeah. Anyway, that's the sponges I use, Kevin. Don't wash, just replace with a little double stick tape. Maybe you're the one that said that. So Candy, that double stick tape, that's like strong enough to hold that? Or did you have a specific double stick tape, like some super aggressive one? That sounds familiar. Yeah, Josh, you know, Josh, I'll do a design one for you guys. Like if you sometime you have like insomnia, you know, that'd be like the perfect thing to like put you comatose as me drawing, you know, designing something, you know. You guys drink that, you know, you had that cappuccino or that, whatever, that latte, you know, after dinner latte or something, you can't get to sleep. Drop me an email and say, hey, you know, can you, you know, do a live stream or something like that, and I'll, you know, we'll put you under like, you know, in 5 minutes. 66 has a blending tool too, something like that come with a replacement. Is that the one? Is the Sizzix one? Did it have like a? That wasn't the Velcro one, right? Oh, wait. I think I remember that Sizzix one. Yeah, I can't remember what that looked like though. It was a plastic one, right? Too. I think I saw that. I can't. Some of these ones have like a rounded edge to, or a rounded surface to them, like a like a, you know, like a ball. I like more of this edge though, you know, like that, because it allows me to go into kind of narrower areas like that. But I don't know. No Gorilla Glue, just double stick. Okay, double stick craft tape. Okay. Take it from Candy, you know. I mean, she's been doing that, so yeah. So if anyone can find, you know, sometimes people can't find these color box stylus tools. I see them come up on like eBay periodically, like someone really wants it. And when I look up there, sometimes there'll be the color box stylus tool. There was these other ones by ClearSnap as well, but they were called something else, but they were just green, and they were the exact same wand. It's just a matter of if you can get these different tips or not, you know, like that. It's too bad, you know, because I tossed away like gazillion tips, you know, when these tips used to go bad, just because we were going through them. I was teaching. I had you know, we were teaching with these ones too and doing make and takes with it. So it was just like we were, you know, we didn't have time, you know, I was going to be doing like nib repair because we would just buy new ones. But I don't know. I didn't know ClearSnap was going to be around anymore, you know. I thought they'd be around forever. They were such a big company for this industry. Bought in flat, round, or domed. Okay. Now, see, that's the thing. Yeah, the domed one for me, it doesn't have as much surface area because it's domed. Yeah, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. So for me, and no, it doesn't have the edge, but the way that I use them, you know, I didn't need to worry about that edge because I'd be hitting that first layer with re-inker fluid like I always do. So everything blended really easily on it. Okay, I forgot about this right here. I don't know, it's still light out here. I want to see what this scene looks like with that moon glowing in here. It's the only thing that's glow in the dark in here, but let's take a look here and see what it looks like. Let me charge it up. I was going to go with that larger moon, but it took up too much space in the sky, so it took up too much space in the sky with the quote stamp, so let's see here. Let's go like that. Let me hit some lights here. It's a little bit of an earlier kind of live stream, so it's still a little bit light outside. I don't know if I can get it dark enough in here. Oh, okay. Oh, that looked weird. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's getting it's reflecting all the rest of the lighting in this. Here, let me try to turn off one more light. Yeah, it kind of looks weird, huh? Like that. Look at the reflection looks like. Why is the reflection lighter than the that top portion like that? Oh, okay. So, so the holographic paper, of course, requires some light hitting it. You know, otherwise it's not going to be holographic. So, it's kind of interesting. Let me try to block off some of this light in here. So in here, you can't see any of the holographic, so you just see this come to life. But then with these here, you know, you got to have that light reflecting in there, and you get the all that kind of showing up in those colors like that. So you flip off the lights. If someone has this on display, then you get this kind of really different looking kind of scenario in here where it's just moonlight without anything like in here. It's just like darkness or whatever. So kind of interesting, huh? So there you have it like that. Kind of the fun with the holographics like that. It goes from warm tones. It has every color in the rainbow or whatever spectrum like that. And see, there's that little kind of motion like that that comes into play. It's like lights in motion without having to do anything with actual lights, which is kind of fun. And this is the thing too, I thought about putting in some little white stars in front of this, which would add another little layer, but I think I'll just leave it like that. All right. Thanks for the info here. Let's see, did anyone mention, no one else mentioned what their favorite black pad was? Or did they, okay, what was, I already forgot the name of that designer with the those pads. But does anyone have that, Catherine Pooler, does anyone have the Catherine Pooler black ink? Because that was one I was really curious about when I saw those pads. But I thought that would be pretty cool. I'll let you know next time I have a nighttime Red Bull. Yeah, the Red Bull. Sometimes when I've been driving home from somewhere, like I'll take one of those things. It's like, man, I cannot sleep, but I'm like dead tired, but I am just so wired, you know. I should watch one of my videos, and that would be like put me to sleep. Okay, the foam. Yes, I do. It's a foam pad. Okay, wait, Darlene. So how is that one of your favorite black pads then? We want to know how dark it is, and how is it? So you've had other dye-based black pads, I'm sure. Where would you put that one? In order or something like that. Okay, it's very black. Okay, so if you know, is that your go-to one then, Darlene? Is that your go-to? Is that your go-to one pad, or do you like some other one more than that? No. That was no, that's not the go-to black, right? Is that what that means? I asked too many questions. Oh, Versify. Okay, yeah. But okay, but the Versifying Clair, though, that's the black oil-based pigment ink, though. But the Pooler one, that's the dye base. What I want to know is if that would be your water-based dye go-to pad. Okay, so Kathy, is that your go-to for your dye-based black then? No, wait. So okay, so Darlene, so you're never coloring. You can't. When you stamp out your imagery in the Versifying Clair, can you color that with your like alcohol inks, or is that smearing the Clair? You know, with that alcohol on that oil-based pigment. Oil-based journaling works great with Holt's round blenders. Not a fan. Oh, okay. Oh, art journaling with the Holtz blenders. Okay. Yeah. I gotta look for that Holtz blender somewhere. And again, I think that's the Velcro one, right? I guess that would be fine. I mean, I guess if you're going like this, I guess if you're holding it up right like this and you're going like this, I would use a circular type of kind of application method with that one, I think. I don't think I would do like a swiping type of thing. Hello, rats. I missed the notification. Oh. So it was just the same thing as like last night, Linda, except I added that moon in here and it just went bigger with the reflection card. I really liked this one right here, how that came out, but I thought let's just pair it with the silver down here in a reflection card. Another thing I was thinking about doing too was not doing this thing up here, but I was going to stamp something down here in white ink so it makes it look like it's floating on the surface. But then I don't know, I came to just, I don't know, wanting that separate little framed off area like that for this piece. So anyway, yeah, double or whatever, double the effect for you know, whatever, half of the work for with the reflection cards right here. And okay, so you know, people see this and it's like, well, what do you put on the outside? Well, you put your greeting or something like that. It doesn't have to be black either. You know, maybe this scene here would be better in like a light blue paper or something like this for your format. But you know, you put your quote stamp or something like that here, and then you do your writing or something on the back of it, like, you know, dear, you know, whatever, you know, happy birthday. Do you remember when we used to go swing, you know, after school, that type of thing? You write on that part of it. So it becomes like it becomes almost like a book, you know, in a way. It's like a sequential piece. You have, this is what we used to do in school. You do your introduction, and then it's your, like your body or whatever type of thing. And then you have your like conclusion type of thing. So on something like this, you know, it might be fun to have like a, you know, you little quotes or whatever you can write here. Or you can just have a happy birthday or something like that. But you have like a little element from the inside in here. You know, maybe a little star or something like that in anticipation of kind of what's happening. And then you open it up and there's this type of thing. And then conclusion right here with your whatever word or whatever. Some people maybe don't want to draw on the back of it. They, you know, put a sheet in there with, you know, the typed, you know, letter or something like that or something like that. But I think having it on the card is kind of cool though. Okay, you do embossing then coloring it. Yeah, darling, that's cool. I've always wondered about that. You know, I don't do embossing too much, so I've always wondered what's the difference between embossing something in black embossing powder or stamping it in black and then embossing in clear. I think we asked that before. I don't remember what people said, but I didn't like my black embossing powder. I don't think as much as the black like Claire with the clear embossing powder over it. I don't know. They look different to me, unless it was just the powders I have, you know, which aren't many. It's just a couple of the basic ones. I thought. It's darker. Okay, here we go. It's darker than Memento, but not quite as black as Versified. Okay, that would be fine with me. The Memento for me is like, that's like an 80% gray to me for that black. Yeah, I would use that Memento for like a dark gray practically, you know, than a black. You know, yeah, like I said, 85% gray maybe at max. But that's for the entire Memento line. I love those Memento inks, but they just always look lighter to me in value than what they do on the indexing, I think, you know. Like that Summer Sky, you know, I add a whole load of it on my piece and it looks like, I don't know, it looks like a 5% blue or something like that. Okay, let's see. Favorite is a hybrid ink by Mindless. Okay, yeah, Bonnie, that's interesting. Yeah. I wasn't even sure how many people made hybrid inks out there, but I was saying, yeah, that for me, KP from, you know, Moon of the Maker and Art Foamies sent me this one to use. And for me, I really love this one. This hybrid black ink on the pre-printed papers. That's my like go-to one. The Brilliance is okay on them too, but I think the hybrid's a little bit better on the pre-printed papers, like the wood grain ones that I'm using, or the what else is there? There's that suede paper, you know, and the vintage paper, that kind of an antiqued one. So anyway, all right. I don't use it as much because Versifine Clair is darker. Yeah, that Versifine Clair is a beautiful, beautiful ink. And it gets the detail, you know. I guess that's hence Versifine. The little granules in there are super fine. And then the thing about the Versifine Clair too, and pigment inks in general, is that those inks, while they do, like on a matte piece of paper, they'll absorb, but a lot of the pigment though will stay on the surface where that the oil is absorbing into the paper, so you get a lot of surface oriented impressions as opposed to like a dye-based ink that's, you know, soaking into the paper, you know, the pigment and everything like that, because it's, you know, it's it's all in solution, where the Clair has like particles, but very fine particles. But yeah, that's a great pad. But yeah, don't use it on glossy unless you want to wait for 2 years, right, Candy? All right, folks. Thanks for checking out the scene here. It's like my little follow up here. I don't know which one I like better. I do like them. I don't know. I guess differently. This one's there's something to be said for just this card like that. And I have that. I do like that coloring on this one. I think this is like I don't know. It's like a quaint, more quaint or like charming or something like this. This one's a little bit more, I don't know, stuff to it, with that nighttime sky like that. But, it's just different for a different type of look. But, yeah, if you try it sometime and in a reflection card format or something like that, just remember, to do a little practice time. If you haven't stamped on foils before, wet slippery inks, going into it, it's easy to kind of stamp down and move it a little bit, but just wipe it off. Or just do a couple test impressions and you'll get the muscle memory down after a couple prints. And you'll find out also how long to hold your stamp to the paper before lifting, okay? It's not like a sweet spot, like, oh my God, I was 2 seconds late, or something like that. But sometimes when you hold it down a long time, and if there's a lot of surface area, you lift it up, it's all like, oh my God, it's like sticking to the surface or something like that. But I would recommend giving it a try, because adding in these just little simple things like this down here, it can really add a pretty dynamic type of look to, and very three-dimensional look to, your cards like that. And, for little effort, this bottom area right down here, you can probably stamp it out in like 2 minutes or something like that. So if you're spending, whatever amount of time up here, 2 minutes to like double the effect. That's like the best bargain in stamping. Hey, I'm going to get some other Clairs too. I need other Clairs, colored Clairs, and I need other color brilliance pads. This year I'm going to grab some of those. Hello, Cynthia. How are you? All right, folks. Let's see. Thanks for checking out the swinging over the swing/pond scene. All right, folks. Hope to see you on the next live. And thanks as always for checking out the channel. Good night, Josh.